the face of growing hunger riots, it is very possible that dwindling supplies of food would finally be kept as a form of bonus for only those who still perform the precarious maintenance of law and order. The result of such partial feeding would in itself be almost inevitable. On this day, the first food rioter is killed by the police in Kent. The result of such partial feeding would in itself be almost inevitable. The result of such partial feeding would in itself be almost inevitable.
All right, thanks, guys. Hey, if Gerald Celente wasn't right so many times, he'd be dismissed as another doom and gloom crackpot. But he has been right, and he has predicted correctly many, many times. Well, now he's looking ahead to 4 years of President Obama, get used to saying that, and at least 2 years of solid Democratic control on Capitol Hill. Now, here's a quick synopsis. He says that by 2012, America will become the first undeveloped nation of the world. There will be another tax revolution, Gerald says, in America, marked by food riots, squatter rebellions, tax revolts, and job marches. And on a less political note, Celente says that the holidays will be a toned-down affair. Getting food, not gifts, will be the priority. Gerald Celente joins me now for some Diamond Dialogue. He's CEO of Trends Research Institute. Good to see you again, sir.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we picked the big three trends to focus on because you have many, but let's focus on the most immediate this holiday season. I know in our family we're already saying we're doing Secret Santa. You get one person that you pick, you get one gift for the adults. A lot of people are cutting back for Christmas.
Well, you know, we're going to see a whole change of the Christmas spirit. No more of this obligatory gift buying. So in one way, people are going to get back to maybe the holy meaning of the holiday. That would be a shock, wouldn't it? So we're going to see gifts that are handmade, handcrafted. The local communities are going to do very well, the ones that hold those winter festivals. Less people going to the mall, more local shopping, and more of the gift-giving of maybe making things, you know, exchanging foods like...
baking cookies.
Exactly.
And so forth. That's going to really hurt retailers, which we're all expecting this Christmas.
We're going to see the beginning of the end of a retail Christmas. You know, I mean, they just invented this thing maybe 100 years ago, you know. It wasn't always like this. So we're going to see a fundamental shift take place where people are no longer going to be doing the Christmas shopping they used to do.
Gerald, come on. They're going to come out with a new iPod and a multicolor, fantastic thing, a new Xbox something.
Putting food on the table is going to be more important than putting gifts under the Christmas tree. We're going to go into the worst depression since worse than the Great Depression.
Wow. Okay, let's talk about that then. You said by the 2012, America, you know, we are usually called the developed nation. We're going to be now the undeveloped nation?
Yeah, you know Obama's slogan, yes we can. We're saying no we can't. It's not going to happen. His plans as candidate Obama are no different than President-elect Obama. So there's not going to be any magic bullet here. There is no solving the crisis with swift resolve. So we're going to see a continuing decline. Americans are going to be taking a hit like they've never seen before. All these people that have their McMansions, that are, we have, what, $14 trillion worth of consumer debt?
Right.
And people are losing their jobs every day. America is going to really go through a transition, the likes of which no one's prepared for. Because you well know, people were even denying that we were in a recession just a couple of months ago.
We debated that for months.
I know.
Could. But still, I mean, people even say, well, technically, you have to have 2 negative GDP quarters until it's technically a recession. I think that debate has been settled. So what if this is what you're predicting? And folks, he's been right many, many times. So you can't just take this with a grain of salt. What he says, you have to take it seriously. What do we do today to prevent for this chaos tomorrow?
Well, the first thing is what the governments are going to do is they're going to try to squeeze more money out of the average person. We're seeing it with virtually every city, every state. They're raising taxes on the people.
Right.
They're raising school taxes, property taxes. We're going to start, the government has to cut back. When you look at where there's job growth, it's only coming from the education sector for public schools and the government. Government has to shrink. They can't keep grabbing more money.
They won't. So what do we do as individuals to prepare ourselves for this inevitable that you're saying?
Well, the first thing is you don't spend a penny more than you could afford. And if your kid is going to college and they're going to get a degree in business administration or psychology or art history, you better start changing your thoughts and send them to a community college and get them a career where there's a return on an investment. So just don't send your kid to college. Well, if you're going to be an accountant or a doctor, something in that healthcare field. Healthcare is always going to be a growth area, particularly in a nation of an aging population and a not so healthy one either.
Okay, Gerald Celente with the CEO of Trend.
What if the Western world was to change in the next 4 years? What if the present, unchallenged, global superpower was to be racked with revolution, food riots, and tax rebellions by 2012 AD? What if, as Orwell predicted, the middle class enlisted the lower class to unite in rebellion with their expertise and skills to overthrow the elite? All this and more is being predicted by the same man who forecast such events as the 1987 stock market crash, the fall of the Soviet Union, and culminating in the current global financial crisis. Trend forecaster, Gerald Celente, the chief executive officer of the Trend Research Institute, is considered an expert in estimating upcoming events. He claims that America will become an undeveloped country during the Obama presidency. Celente is predicting revolution, food riots, and tax rebellions within the next presidential term, which will end in Americans being more concerned about putting food on the table rather than a tree in the living room by Christmas 2012. Speaking to Fox News on November 13, 2008, Celente forecasts social upheaval for the U.S. along with tent cities and huge unemployment lines. Squatter rebellions and job marches will be rife across the country. Holidays will be more about finding food, not presents. We're going to see the end of the retail Christmas. We're going to see a fundamental shift take place. Putting food on the table is going to be more important than putting gifts under the Christmas tree, said Celente, adding that the financial environment would be worse than the Great Depression. America's going to go through a transition the likes of which no one is prepared for, claimed Celente. He pointed out in particular that U.S. citizens' refusal to recognize that America was even in a recession underlines the dilemma in being prepared for the actual scale of the crisis. Celente, who has had unparalleled success in predicting the 1997 Asian currency crisis, the subprime mortgage fall and the enormous devaluation of the U.S. dollar, told UPI in November last year that the following year would be called the Panic of 2008. Celente claimed that giants would tumble to their deaths, which is precisely what has happened with the fall of Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns and others. Celente went on to claim that the U.S. dollar would continue to be devalued by as much as 90%.